Warm welcome to this lecture series on organizational behavior. We are in this chapter on personality, and this is our sixth section of this chapter. I'll very quickly summarize what happened in the previous lectures. So in this chapter till now we defined what is personality. We also looked at the argument of nature versus nurture in influencing personality. We also looked at theories on personality. The first theory we looked at was Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory. The second theory we looked at was social learning theory. So the problem with both these theories are they are deterministic in nature. The third theory, which approaches personality or individual behavior from a humanistic point of view, is self theory. So we looked at the important concepts in this theory. We looked at three important concepts: one, self concept, self esteem, and unconditional acceptance. So we spoke about the importance of unconditional acceptance in creating a positive self concept, or in creating the right kind of self concept, and also the relationship between self-esteem and self-concept, and also relationship between self-esteem and unconditional acceptance. Self-concept being the idea of who we are or who am I, plays a very important role in deciding the level of self-esteem. So to know who I am, the most important criteria is self-awareness. So this is where we stopped in the previous lecture. I asked you to read about this model called Johari's window. So this model of self-awareness is proposed by two psychologists, Joseph and Harrington. So according to this model, self of an individual has four different windows, or in other words, there are four selves within ourselves. The first self is self which is known to us, and also self which is known to others. There are certain areas within us which we are also aware, others also aware. Others in the sense not necessarily everyone, but at least few people are aware. For example, your friends know about your early childhood experiences. They know your limitations to some extent. They know what are your preferences and things like that, which you also know. Okay, so this is the open area of self. The second area of self is hidden area, which is there are certain information about us or certain aspects of ourselves which we don't reveal to others, which we keep only to ourselves. Even to the closest of our friends or to life partner or even parents, we don't reveal certain things, isn't it? So, but we know about those things. So that part of self is hidden self. The third part is there are certain aspects of our self, there are certain aspects about our own self which we don't know but others know. So which is called blind area. So blind means you don't know what is there but others know. The fourth area is the dark area or the unknown area, which we also don't know, others also don't know. So these four windows are very important in terms of influencing our behavior. So ideally speaking, the open area should be more. If I ask you which area should be more, many of you would say hidden or open. So at least you should know what is there in that area. Others knowing, not knowing is a different a different story, but at least you should know what is there. So but I would rather say open area should be more, which means at least you should have 2-3 individuals with whom you should be able to reveal everything about yourself. So what will happen if hidden area is more and open area is less? There will be less trust placed on you. So there will be very few people who will trust you. So which means if you are keeping everything as a secret and you are not revealing it to anybody and even to your close friends, people will not trust you, isn't it? So why are you not revealing? Because you are not trusting them. So only if you show trust on others, others will trust you. And also if you keep too many things as secret, it will bother you. You cannot handle too much of information which is kept as secret, which will bother you in your you feel very guilty, you will feel bad, you will feel you don't have anyone to share, you will feel friendless, all those things. So in fact there are a lot of research which say people who are psychologically healthy are the ones who have close relationships with whom they can reveal everything, or which also means these people are the ones who have others who unconditionally accept them. So if you can reveal something openly to someone, then it means that person is not judging you. So if somebody is not judging you, it means you are very fortunate enough to have someone like that. Okay, so what will happen? So how to increase the size of the open area? One, you should try to establish relationships which are deep enough in nature or trustworthy in nature. So first you should show trust to others, only then people will show trust to you, and then you can reveal things to them. Okay, so I'm not saying you should tell everything about you to everyone. I'm saying at least to few people you should have such deep relationships where you can share your secrets. So it should all start from you. You should reveal things about yourself to your friends, only then they will trust you, and it will be mutual also. It will help both of you. Okay. The third area, which is an interesting area, is blind area. Okay, blind area is others know, you don't know, which means you think this is what you are, but in reality it is not true. Others are looking at it from a different angle. Okay, or for example, certain things without even knowing we exhibit those behaviors, but others can watch that behavior, observe that behavior. For example, let's say whenever you get stressed or whenever you become nervous, you bite nails, which you are not aware, but others will watch that, others will observe that. Or let's say whenever there is there is stress in your life, you shout at others, so which you are not aware, but people around you will know, okay, he is shouting at others, or he is getting angry because he is feeling insecure. So you might think, I am having control and I am showing my aggression, but in reality you are feeling insecure, that's why you are showing your insecurity through aggression. That others can understand. You may not be willing to see that reality. So this is blind area. Many times these blind areas are weak spots, which we don't pay attention, but others pay attention. These are like vulnerable areas where others can take advantage of, because you are not aware of those vulnerabilities. But sometimes it can be positive things also. Okay, for example, you might be a very good singer, as a hobby you sing well, but you don't really acknowledge that you are a good singer, but others will know you are a good singer, or others know that you are a very humorous person, but you will not actually think you are a humorous person. Okay, so blind area many a times can lead to problems like people, one, you may not know your potential to your fullest if there are a lot of blind areas. Two, if there are more blind areas, people may exploit you or people may manipulate you. They will use your vulnerabilities. so that they can control you. So how will you reduce this blind area? And at least you should make it hidden area or open area. It will become open area because others already know. So how will you make it open area? One, you should seek feedback. So how will you seek feedback? Feedback in the sense you should ask people, what do you think? At least to close friends, you should ask your close friends, because many times close friends will know your weaknesses, but they may not reveal it to you because they are scared that you will feel upset or you will feel sad. So instead of waiting for others to give feedback, it is always better to ask them for feedback. Okay, especially with close friends, we can ask them, what do you think, where can I improve? Instead of asking what do you think, we can ask them, in this particular behavior, where do you think I can change, or what else I can do, or where do you think I can focus more? So these kind of questions you can ask. But the problem with asking feedback is, if people give honest feedback and that information is not congruent with our self-image, you might be thinking, I'm very good in this area, but many people as feedback tell you, no, you are not good, you are very mediocre in nature. So that may affect us. In fact, it will affect our self-esteem. So that is where we should have unconditional acceptance. So people with high unconditional acceptance for themselves, and also people who have true self-esteem, not like pride, people with real self-esteem, they are very open for feedback. So even if somebody gives feedback which is not congruent with their self-image, self-concept, they will try to ask themselves, is it true? If it is true, how can I change myself? I'm not saying when people give feedback, you should blindly accept that feedback. I'm saying at least you should be open enough to seek feedback so that that blind area will come down. Because see, the risk in seeking feedback is sometimes people give false feedback also. There might be, that is where you should know who should ask. You should ask people who are trustworthy and people who will be honest. There might be situations where people will give feedback, negative feedback, in order to hurt you. It might be a lie also, or they might exaggerate. They might say more where it is actually less. So in that situations also, you should be able to receive that feedback, analyze it and assimilate the useful information. So that requires a very good level of self-esteem and unconditional acceptance. So there is always risk, but this risk sometimes is worth taking, because the kind of information you will get from this feedback, if they are real, they will really help you to reduce your vulnerabilities. So the advantage of seeking feedback is, even though you may get hurt, you may get false information, that will help you to overcome your vulnerabilities. In other words, the level of control others had over you, which you were not aware of, comes down. It gives a lot of power for you to manage your own feelings, your own weaknesses. So that becomes a strength over a period of time. So that is why blind area, we should pay some time, we should spend some time to reduce that blind area. Okay, so the last window, which is unknown, others also don't know, you also don't know. What should we do with that area? Because for that also, you cannot do much. You cannot ask feedback because others also don't know. So things like, some potential where you never explored, or certain areas where you actually didn't even pay attention or brought it out. Okay, for example, you might be very good in dancing, but you never danced, or you never tried doing it because no such situation came, or you were feeling shy. So what will you do? Okay, why it is, first we should understand why is it important to reduce this unknown area. It is important to reduce this unknown area because these are deep seated. If you look at Freud's theory, these are like very deep seated, deep rooted issues or information which is very very inside us. So sometimes what can happen is this can suddenly come out if they are negative aspects of self, very bad memories. They will somehow will manipulate our behavior without knowing why it is happening. Okay. In fact, in psychology, they call them psychosomatic disorders. It can lead to bodily problems also. So sometimes deep-seated stress or anxiety can lead to bodily disorders also. Okay. It can be positive things also, your capabilities, your potential, your strengths which you don't know. So both ways it's important to dig deep and bring it out. So what can we do? We cannot seek feedback. One thing we can do is we can experiment on newer situations, or we can explore situations which can help us bring out the positive things about us. For example, trying out new things. Let's say, like I said, if you don't know whether you can dance or not, put yourself in that condition, dance. Worst case scenario, people will laugh at you and then you will know I cannot dance. Okay. What if people likes it? You can shape or you can polish that strength and you can become better in it. It can be learning a new language, it can be trying out new things. So being open for experiences and trying out new things will help us reduce this unknown area. Okay, so I hope this model was interesting for you. In fact, this model is used in many training programs, leadership related training programs on self-awareness, training programs on how to improve oneself and things like that. Okay. Why self-esteem is important in workplace, or what is the role of self-concept, self-esteem and unconditional acceptance in workplace? One, like I said, people who have false sense of high self-esteem tend to be insecure, and they tend to be very materialistic also, which means people with very low self-esteem tend to show off to compensate on the weaknesses they have or the insecurities they have. So when people feel very insecure, they tend to shop more. There are research evidences which say that people, when they feel very stressed or insecure, they are not happy with themselves, they tend to buy more things. In fact, there are research say that insecure people tend to eat more. There are eating disorders caused by low self-esteem. So similarly in workplace, people who aim for materialistic things without looking at meaningful things are the ones who might be with low self-esteem. Okay, so with this particular slide I stop. So this slide talks about employees with high self-esteem. Why it is important for employees to have high self-esteem, or as a HR manager you should help people have better self-esteem. Why it is important? One, employees with high self-esteem tend to be more happy and satisfied. They are very happy about themselves, so they are satisfied, and they also set very realistic expectations. They know what they can do and they know what they cannot be able to do. It's not like false sense of self-awareness. Since they have high self acceptance level, they tend to ask questions about themselves and know what they want and what they don't want, and also they set clear-cut goals for them. And also they are moderate risk takers, which means they won't unnecessarily take risk and they won't take low risk also. They know what they are capable of, and depending on that they take risk. They are also very cooperative in nature, people with high self-esteem, because see, when I say cooperative, which means they are ready to help others, they are ready to appreciate others' success. When will people become jealous on others' success? People who are not happy with themselves are the ones who get jealous of others' success. So that is where people pull down others' leg, isn't it? Because if I am not able to achieve, others should not achieve, or if others achieve, then I will feel bad about myself, so I will not let others achieve. Okay, so But people with high self-esteem, even if they are not achieving, they will help others to achieve, and they will be very friendly, encouraging others, they will cooperate with others. They will also be highly motivated and self-disciplined. Why? Because they respect themselves. If you are respecting yourself, you will be disciplined even when nobody else is observing you, and also they'll be ready to take responsibilities because they know what they are capable of. They know what they can achieve, so they are open to, they are confident, so that is why they are open to take responsibilities. So I'll stop here. I'll quickly summarize what happened in today's lecture. We looked at only two important areas. One, this idea of self-awareness, Johari's window. We looked at each of those windows of self and discussed the advantages and disadvantages of those windows and how to reduce or increase the size of them. We also looked at in workplace how or what is the role of self-esteem in workplace, how employees with high levels of self-esteem are assets to the organization. I'll stop here. We'll meet in the next class. Till then, take care. See you then.